This is Kentucky Afield Radio. This is Ron Rohde, Kentucky Afield's first host back in 1953. Now, I'm proud to present Charlie Baglan.
What would you say to travel? A little weekend trip, a getaway, and dare I say, vacation. But wait, it's December. The only thing on the horizon is January and February, as if that's any better. Well, my guest from the Kentucky Department of Travel says otherwise. From wildlife adventure, events, history, there's much to discover about the Commonwealth winter. We have some ideas next on Kentucky Afield Radio.
Boys were in trouble. About 10 seconds later, he said, boys were going down.
A true story.
And it sunk right out from under us.
20 degrees.
Within seconds, one boating trip went
straight down.
The water was bone-chilling.
Once you hit that water, it's so cold you can't move.
The human body wasn't designed for this.
It took my breath away as soon as I hit it, and my hands were so cold in a matter of seconds that I couldn't pop the clip on my waders to get them off.
Conditions were so bad it's amazing that anybody survived.
Perfect for duck hunting, but not for a swim in the middle of a river.
Going overboard is never the thought.
You have to think ahead.
Fun can turn frantic in seconds.
There's no time to react when your world just sinks out from under you.
3 hunters, 2 survivors, 1 reason.
Your life jacket's got your back.
Make sure your first mate isn't your last.
I really don't think that I could have made it without a life jacket.
Your Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife reminds you, your life jacket's got your back, and the backing of sportsmen on winter water everywhere. Welcome to Kentucky Afield Radio. My name is Charlie Baglan, and it's not that Christmas is a cold weather holiday. It just happens to be cold in late December in Kentucky, and anywhere north of Kentucky. Christmas in Australia is a warm weather holiday. The Yuletide, even in Key West or Miami, Florida, it's warm. So how we celebrate sort of depends on where we are. And here in Kentucky, we tend to start off the winter season by traveling. Not so much that we like the snow or the dreary cold, but because of the holidays. Very often we travel to see family or friends. Travel in other parts of the winter falls dramatically. And I'm here to say that it doesn't have to be that way. My guest this hour is Seth Wheat with the Kentucky Office of Adventure Tourism. And Mr. Wheat has ideas to help us warm up to winter travel.
Yes, sir. There's all kinds of good things to do this time of year.
There's everything but a lot of sun and a lot of warmth.
Yes.
Other than that,
yes,
it's got it going on.
Listen, man, just a couple more layering pieces, a nice coat. You can get over that.
Let's set the tone here. What was your least favorite class in college? Chemistry, algebra, calculus, foreign language?
It was statistics class.
Statistics, probability, yeah. They can be challenging.
And I enjoy statistics, reading about them, studying them, that kind of thing, but when I had to learn it, and no, it wasn't.
Well, mine was English literature.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I was introduced to all of that, but if you're going to sit there and interpret, that's sort of up to me what I see in it. And the professor would often say, no, you've got it all wrong. I said, well, it's up to me, though. It's my interpretation. What does this mean to you?
Yeah.
If you read this poem or this story.
Agreed.
There was a poem that we tried to decipher by Robert Frost. I think you've heard this. Stopping by woods on a snowy evening.
Yeah,
you remember that?
I seem to recall that from some point in my years of schooling.
Let me read this.
Go.
Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. See, it's winter.
Mm-hmm.
My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. And miles to go before I sleep. And I remember we were talking about that, and the professor said, what's that mean to you? I said, that means strength. The horse stops in the snow, it's dark. That's strength to me. And he said, no. That was his favorite word. No, you're wrong. So that symbolizes death and weariness and coming to an end, that things are dark and gloomy and life is ending. And I said, what? Where are you getting this? And I asked him, I said, in front of the class, I said, Doctor, where are you from? West Africa, Cameroon. Mm-hmm. So it's warm there, isn't it? I can see how you'd think that winter would mean doom and gloom. But in Kentucky, we sort of embrace the cold weather, and we're used to it. And if you're going to get off of your horse, and it's snowing, and it's dark, you would only do that because you're strong.
Yeah.
And he said, I never thought of it that way. Yeah, you take sportsmen that like to go out in the dead of January with a bow, miles into the woods, and they're tracking a deer. They do that because they're weak and weary? No. If you're going to go on a kayak trip in frigid waters, are you doing that because you're weak and weary and you're going to die?
No, you have to have a certain level of commitment to your activity to get out this time of year and participate in it.
There's adventure there.
But there's a lot of reward in it. You know, it is a big adventure, but there's a lot of reward in getting out this time of year, I think.
So you can argue things both ways. But in my book, if you're going to go out and challenge a mountain and you're a snow skier, you don't do that because you're weak.
No.
You do that because you're strong and you're adventurous and you embrace the outdoors. I can't remember what I got in the course, but let's just say I got an A.
Let's just go with an A. That's fine.
Let's just go with an A.
Let's go with an A. That's fine.
Boomers, baby boomers. You a baby boomer?
I am not.
You're not.
I am not a baby boomer.
I am. Baby boomers are leading Generation Xers. I saw on the web. If it's on the web, it's true.
Correct.
Not a fan of traveling in the winter. Do you know much about the travel habits of people in, at least in this area, about when they prefer to travel?
You tell me.
The statistics I saw, 11% travel in winter, only 11, compared to 58% who prefer the warmer weather, spring and summer. That's for domestic travel. You're going to have fewer travelers internationally in the winter than you will domestically. 13% will travel over the holidays. So the holiday season, so Christmas, New Year's, all that, that's when you'll see a rush in travel. But I think if those holidays didn't exist, people would travel far. They wouldn't travel at all. Yeah,
I would tend to agree with that. The statistics would probably be very different if we didn't have the holidays and the reasons to get together. And if we didn't have the time off work, I'd say that's a help to some also.
It depends on why you're traveling. Wedding, graduations, family reunions, most of those things are in the summer. If you want a romantic getaway, they say fall is good for that. There you go, Seth. So the Kentucky Department of Travel, your role has changed a little bit there. What are you doing now in addition to? An employee will never do less, but they will always have something added to their plate. So what is it you're doing now in addition to adventure tourism?
Adventure tourism. In addition to that, I am doing the sports tourism for the state of Kentucky, which is great because, I like so many other Kentuckians, I love sports. And we have a lot of communities that have worked really hard to develop this infrastructure to attract all these different tournaments and sporting events. And those folks that come in to participate in those, they have a huge tourism impact. They're going to stay overnight in the hotels. They're going to go out to eat in the restaurants. And hopefully we can convince them while they're here for the sporting event to go see some of our other great attractions or natural areas or something like that. So I'm doing the adventure still, and I'm doing the sports, and we'll wait and see what else may come on after that.
It sounds fun.
It is fun.
Congratulations and good luck with this.
Thanks, I appreciate it. We've got some pretty signature sporting events that happen here in Kentucky, namely the big horse race every May, but it's a lot more than that too. And really, when you look, Pikeville to Paducah, just like I've talked about for years with the adventure side of things. We've got great ball fields, arenas, stadiums, places that are really, top-level places to come have these tournaments or come, just enjoy these communities in kind of a new way.
So you're not talking about just the great games with Kentucky and Louisville in basketball, not just Keeneland, not just the Kentucky Derby. What are some of the other types of sports that are coming to Kentucky? And I'm thinking maybe even down, say, to the high school level, soccer.
Oh, sure, and younger than that even. We've got a lot of great facilities. I'm thinking of places like Paducah and Elizabethtown and, a bunch of others that have really invested in some sports complexes. So they can host these huge national level tournaments, ranging from Little League age all the way up to collegiate tournaments. So we get a ton of stuff for baseball and softball. And the interesting thing, and one of the things I'm excited about, there's always been a bit of a crossover in what I was doing in the adventure tourism world and what I'm doing in addition now with the sports. In events like orienteering is a great example.
Oh, yeah.
You know orienteering?
Sure.
We have a lot of great orienteering courses that have been developed in Kentucky, and that's a crossover because that's competitive, but it's also adventurous. So now, with me in this role, I'm going to look at what other similar things we can do.
It is time for a break and then back with more winter fun. You're listening to Kentucky Afield Radio. We're back on Kentucky Afield Radio. Charlie Baglan is my name, and I'm here with Seth Wheat, who joins me at the start of every season to promote travel and adventure around the state. And during the break, Seth was talking about a conference in California. I went to Sacramento once upon a time, and I bet the same thing that happened to me is going to happen to you when you go.
What's that?
And the same thing that happens when you go anywhere. You go there for business, sure, but then you take a look around what else is here that I should see while I'm here.
Exactly.
And let's say you go to Sacramento, California. You may go down to the Bay at San Francisco. You may drive down to Yosemite Valley. Folsom Prison is pretty close if you want to see that.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
It is. And Sierra Nevada Mountain. I mean, there's a lot of scenery. I might drive up to the Redwoods. So I'm suspecting, while you're doing that, if people come here, but yet while they're here, they may go to Mammoth Cave. They may want to go and see Cumberland Falls. May want to take advantage of some fishing opportunities while they're in Kentucky.
I think you just hit the nail on the head, and that's absolutely one of the ways we're going to try to push this, is that we've got stuff to offer that rivals any state in the country. We have such a unique blend of things that we can show people. So I definitely hope, and I think we will be able to, is to market this in such a way that folks will maybe spend an extra day and travel around and see some stuff while they're here.
There's a good example of that. The National Archery in the Schools program, we call it NASP.
Absolutely.
Every May we have this national tournament in Louisville. 14,000 kids coming from all over. I mean, Alaska, Florida, you name it. They're here. And while they're here, they want to see something else. They may go to the Falls of the Ohio. They may come to Frankfurt to the Slater Wildlife Education Center, go down to Mammoth Cave. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a vacation destination in many respects. Even though you're here for archery, there's a lot more still to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we got a lot of good stuff to see.
Well, what's on the list to see and do in winter for that 11% that's going to come here?
One of my favorite things about living in Kentucky is that we have 4 distinct seasons. The same places you visit in the spring or the summer can be totally different in the winter. It's like you're visiting it for the first time.
What do you have on your list that people should see and do?
As always, we want to share some of the stuff going on at Kentucky State Parks. And we touched on this just a minute ago, but it is a great time of year to see some wildlife that you don't normally see, and our state parks are here to help you do that. We've got eagle watches in western Kentucky. We've got sandhill crane tours in south central Kentucky around Barren River. And we've got elk tours going on in eastern Kentucky. So no matter which part of the state you're in, you're going to be near a state park that's offering some really unique wildlife tours.
And it's okay if you want to just get up and travel across state to do that too.
I would encourage it.
Absolutely. Now, if you're from eastern Kentucky and never have seen western Kentucky, it's like going to a different state.
When I see folks from out of state and they ask me where should they go, where should they travel in Kentucky, you know, Louisville and Lexington and that kind of stretch between I-65 and I-75 is great. I love the bluegrass. I live here now. But I always tell them, if you haven't been to far eastern Kentucky or far western Kentucky, make sure you put it on your list because there are awesome places to see out there.
So there are 3 opportunities to see bald eagles. Now, people still may think bald eagle in Kentucky, no. But, yeah, they are resident birds to the state. In fact, there are more here now than there ever were historically.
Numbers are better than ever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you should go. I've been to probably 4 or 5 of these things.
Have you really?
I have. Well, there are 3, and they're all 3 on Kentucky Lake. They may be headquartered at different parks. We're at Kentucky Dam Village, Lake Barkley, and Ken Lake State Resort Park. But it's basically the same tour. There's one, though, that takes you over to the Ballard Wildlife Management Area, and that's a property of the Department of Fish and Wildlife. There you can see geese by the hundreds of thousands. Have you been?
I have. I go every year as often as I can. As a duck hunter,
yeah,
that's the place you got to go.
You gotta.
So it's I'm out there all the time, as often as I can be. Absolutely. I didn't know they did the eagle tours out there, though. I thought they just did them on the lakes. I'm learning something.
There is a Ballard Wildlife Management Area bus tour that stems out of the one January 20th through the 22nd, and that's out of Kentucky Dam Village, I do believe. But I encourage you to get on the Kentucky State Park website for all the details.
Absolutely. Parks.ky.gov. You can find all the information for this. I've done the one out of Kinlake on the yacht before. I know the others are excellent. They have some great biologists out there and some great naturalists, and it's just a really good event. So go check it out and make plans to go see Western Kentucky and see some eagles.
So you got January 20th and 22. Lake Barkley Eagles Weekend is January 27th, 28th, and 29th.
Kinlake on the 4th and 5th of February, and then it looks like again on the 5th and 11th for brunch cruises. There you go.
Get a brunch cruise.
Yeah.
Opportunities to see bald eagles in the wild. It's not like you're going to walk right up to them sitting on the branch, but you'll be on a van tour, or you'll be on this boat, the CQ Princess out of Louisville, is what it's historically been.
Yes.
And if you take a pretty good pair of binoculars, you can see them as you go up and down the cold lake, but they're sitting on the branches, and they're fishing. They're watching for fish to catch. And it's pretty neat. Sometimes you'll see 2, 3, 4 in the same tree.
Yeah.
It's really pretty.
We saw a ton, but the highlight of my trip was we saw a golden eagle.
I've talked about these eagle opportunities on the show in the past and said this is one of those gifts like you do with your girlfriend to give to somebody. As your gift this year is in an envelope, and it's the weekend at one of these parks to go on one of these eagle trips in January.
I think that's a great gift. When you can give somebody an experience, I think that's something that'll last with you, for the rest of your life.
So the other wildlife opportunities beyond eagles would include
sandhill cranes at Barren River Lake State Park.
Big like a goose, maybe a 4 feet tall bird, January 21, and again the weekend of the 28th.
They stack up down there around Barren River Lake. That's one of their main stops on their migration corridor.
Well, right, those mudflats down there that's the honeymoon suite at the Hilton.
There you go.
For a sandhill crane, those mudflats. Barren River Lake really low in the wintertime.
It is.
And so you can go there and you can see them, and they'll fly around, and there's something to see. My wife and I went a year or two ago, and she was wearing her sandhill crane T-shirt yesterday.
She went and got the T-shirt.
We both went and both got the T-shirt. But it's really worth going to see this. And they'll give a nice presentation on sandhill cranes the night before.
One of the nice things about all these different tours we're talking about is that the park staff really make sure that you learn something, that you have fun, that you know about what you're getting ready to go look for. And so it just helps make a, kind of a complete experience. It's a really nice job they do.
So other wildlife you can see in the wintertime in Kentucky is our Rocky Mountain elk.
Yes, we, I'm sure as all your listeners know, largest elk herd east of the Mississippi River, and winter's a great time to get out and see these guys in eastern Kentucky.
You have 2 state parks, and I know there probably are still some private tours if it's worth Googling, but you can also go to the Jenny Wiley State Resort Park website, see what they have to offer. In Buckhorn Lake State Resort Park, I remember in the past, were offering elk tours.
That's correct. They both still do, and they both do a phenomenal job. The naturalists there that lead the tours are great. They know what they're looking for, and they have a really high success rate, I guess I'll say, of finding the elk and making sure the people that are on the tour get what they came for.
You're not going to get up right next to them. Again, these are wild animals. You're talking about sandhill cranes, bald eagles, Rocky Mountain elk. It's not like you're in a zoo. So don't plan on getting some very good shots with your cell phone. Take binoculars. And if you are a photographer that has pretty good extended length lenses, telephoto lenses, take those. Yeah. But it's worth seeing.
Absolutely.
You'll see them and you'll be saying, hey, that's neat. I hadn't seen that before.
Yeah, make sure you've got something that'll get you a little zoom there so you can see them.
All right, Seth Wheat with the Office of Adventure Tourism. Parks does have it going on in the winter. There's an adventure weekend, some more going on.
Absolutely. One of the most popular events, I think, at any state park is the Winter Adventure Weekend out at Carter Cave State Park.
What do they do?
What don't they do may be a bit of a better question. Carter Caves is such a great park. Any time of the year you go there, they've got great hiking trails. They've got a lake there on the property that you can fish or you can paddle on. And they, of course, have caves. It's Carter Caves. So what they do during this winter adventure weekend is they have a lot of special guided tours and some stuff that you can't even do other times of the year. You know, it's only available this winter adventure weekend. So we've got stuff like guided kayaking trips. We've got rappelling and rock climbing going on. We've got zip lining, these great cave tours that happen during this weekend. So you need to go online and see all this stuff that they have going on and then quickly call and make the necessary reservations for whatever trip or experience you want to be a part of.
Tigers Creek's up that way.
Tigers Creek's up that way.
And you can certainly do some good fishing there.
You can.
You know, one thing I think about winter fishing, or not, but you think about winter vacations. If you want to get outside and enjoy a little bit of the great outdoors, but you don't want to get cold, go caving.
There you go.
So you could go there. It's always the same temperature in a cave.
We've talked about it as great summer adventures.
Yeah.
It's a great winter adventure.
Great winter adventure.
Absolutely.
So this is going on at Carter Cave State Resort Park. That's in northeastern Kentucky.
Olive Hill, Kentucky. One of our Kentucky trail towns.
It's called the Winter Adventure Weekend.
Winter Adventure Weekend.
And when is this weekend?
This is the last weekend in January, I do believe, the 26th through the 29th.
We are in the studio with Mr. Adventure himself, Seth Wheat, with the Kentucky Office of Adventure Tourism, part of the Kentucky Department of Travel. It's Christmas, I know, but what are you doing afterwards? What does the new year hold in store? We're looking ahead with ideas. Our weekly fishing report is just ahead, so please stay here or I will eat all of your candy canes. You're listening to Kentucky Afield Radio. We're back on Kentucky Afield Radio into our second half hour. If you would like to hear this show again, first off, I would say just go to Facebook. There you will find our weekly links. YouTube is a great place to go to. Just search Kentucky Afield Radio in the search box. You can find us there. More with winter adventure around the Commonwealth. But first up, our fishing report.
Hi, this is Kevin Fry with your Eastern Area Fisheries Report. Crappie catches continuing good in upper lake areas and shallow water on tube jigs, cast and retrieve slowly. The shallow water up lake yielding more larger fish than the lower lake deeper areas. Dewey, Fish Trap, Carr Creek, and Yatesville lakes, good ones to try. Area streams have continued with lower flows and clear water, although some colder days of recent, some anglers still fishing for smallmouth bass and having good success on plastic fish slowly and jigging retrieves, dragging bait on bottom. Russell, Leviza, and Tug Forks offer good fishing in Pike County, as well as North Fork, Kentucky River, and areas of Letcher, Perry, and Breathitt, and Middle Fork, Kentucky River, and Leslie and Breathitt counties.
This is Jeff Crosby with the Central Fishing Report. Water temperatures are running in the mid to lower 40s. Crappie are still being caught at a few lakes, such as Taylorsville and Harrington Lakes. Crappie can be caught on live minnows or crappie jigs when fished around brush or treetops and around 10 feet of water. White bass and hybrid striped bass are somewhat active in the upper reaches of Harrington and Taylorsville lakes. Try catching a few of these fish on crankbaits, jerkbaits, or curlytail grubs. And finally, it's a great time of year to check out those ponds and lakes that are part of the department's Fishing and Neighborhoods program. Check out the department's website at fw.ky.gov for a complete list of fins lakes in your areas. Trout have been stocked in many of these lakes. So grab a pole and enjoy some great winter fishing.
Hi, this is Ed. I'm going to get the Southwest Kentucky Fishing Report. Barren River Lake is at winter pool and bass have been fair on suspended jerkbaits, lipless crankbaits. Focus on those sun-drenched banks, main lake points, or transition banks. Barren River tailwater hybrids, white crappie, walleye, and sauger have been fair. Walleye and sauger with curly-tailed grubs and swim baits. Green River Lake muskie have been caught on jerkbait, shad, or alewife-colored crankbaits and swim baits. Green River Lake tailwater, walleye, and sauger have been caught with shad, alewife-colored swim baits, or white and chartreuse curly-tailed grubs. Muskie likewise are a good bet in the tailwater with jerkbaits or swim baits. As always, good luck and good fishing. Make sure the life jacket's got your back.
Getting back to nature? Remember those already there. This holiday season, buy and print the Kentucky Fish and Wildlife gift certificate right from your PC for anyone on your list who has outdoor adventure on theirs. Online at fw.ky.gov.
Christmas means deer season in more ways than one. Have the Jolly Reindeer drop off the Kentucky Fish and Wildlife gift certificate, perfect for anyone on your list who has hunting on theirs. Find it at fw.ky.gov.
We are back on Kentucky Afield Radio. Soon the holidays will be all over, decorations will be down, New Year's celebrations will be in the book. Then what? It's January. It's cold. Blah. Conference basketball play, I guess, is one thing to look forward to. Deer season comes to a close. Waterfowl season in effect. I, for one, embrace cold weather. And so does my guest, Seth Wheat, from the Kentucky Department of Travel. And if you like Kentucky history, then you'll like our capital, Frankfurt. More than legislature, more than bourbon. Something was brought to my attention by a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago, and he said, we ought to check this out. And then I found it on your website, and then I went in and told the Kentucky Afield TV show about this, and I found something interesting about Frankfurt, Kentucky. And he said, and he started looking it up, and he found a couple of articles, and he said, this really does have some backbone. And we're talking about Frankfurt, Kentucky's history with the bait-casting fishing reel. It wasn't invented here, but it was, as they say, perfected here and first produced here. Of course, you have Shakespeare now, and you have Zebco and all the great names. But Kentucky has a capital city museum in downtown there in Frankfurt. It's going on, I presume, as we speak. Mm-hmm. You can walk in there and see this exhibit of these old, classic, famous, collectible bait-casting reels. You're a fisherman.
I am. I love fishing. I love history. And so I'm really excited to go see this. I had never heard this history before.
I had gotten a name of a fella who is supposed to know a little bit more about this than what's written on this sheet.
Sure.
That I'd like to have on the show.
Yeah, I think
I don't know if he could talk for an hour, but he'll talk for a little while and tell us the story about Frankfurt, Kentucky's history with the bait-casting fishing reel.
I think that's excellent. I'll tune in. I always tune in.
We're seeing and understand here admission is free. They're open Monday through Saturday. They open at 10 o'clock and go to 4 o'clock. Capital city of Kentucky, Frankfurt, and Frankfurt's fishing reels. The jewels of the bluegrass exhibit. Archery, we talked about earlier in the show. That's some things coming up archery-wise you can do in the winter. This is a family opportunity at E.P. Tom Sawyer State Park in Louisville, December 21st and the 28th. Explorer Archery Program.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of those.
You've heard about this. Maybe, all right, it's offered in more than half of the schools in Kentucky. So chances are in your PE class, you've at least gotten to shoot there and learned a little bit of the curriculum of archery. If you have not yet, or it's not offered in your school, but all your buddies in your neighborhood are shooting archery, then this is your opportunity. If you're in the Louisville area, it's worth a trip up to go to E.P. Tom Sawyer State Park 1 to 3 o'clock on this 21st and 28th. And for a big $5, you'll get instruction on how to do this. And who knows, maybe you'll want to get on the archery team at your school.
Sounds like a bargain to me.
There is an archery tournament coming up, too,
at
the same place in E.P. Tom Sawyer State Park. The Snowflake Archery Shoot. Beginner divisions and intermediate. It starts about 12:30. It takes place in the gym and the activities building there in Louisville. This is for ages 7 through 10, ages 11 through 14, and ages 15 and up. So 3 age groups there. But it's worth looking up online or give them a call and see if they have room for you at that tournament, the Snowflake Archery Shoot. If you need a bow, they've got them there to rent. Bear in mind, for this tournament, the only bow that you can use is the Matthews Genesis, which is the NASP bow for NASP tournaments. So most kids in the state who have ever shot NASP and are a team, they have one of those.
There are great places to shoot all over Kentucky. E.P. Tom's just one of them. You know, we have some really nice archery ranges all over Kentucky.
These are what popped up on your website, and while I'm talking about the website, tell me more about it, because it is a heck of a search tool.
You either know what you want to do and you need a place to go do it, or you know where you're going and you need to know what there is to do there.
Yeah.
So you can look it up either way.
And the dates, you can search by city, by region.
KentuckyTourism.com. Being that we're in the holiday season, the Christmas season here, some of the big things that we always try to get the word out about that's really good, fun family events. One of the big ones is Southern Lights at the Kentucky Horse Park.
Oh, yeah.
Put on by the Horse Park Foundation. I went to Southern Lights for the first time, I believe it was 2 years ago, and was very, very impressed. And it's not just the Christmas lights. You know, you have a drive-through, and you see all these wonderful Christmas lights, but they have so much other stuff going on. They had a room full of model trains. And I know a lot of people are really big into model trains, and I don't count myself as one of those people, but I was fascinated by all the different trains they had there. And I spent more time in there than I did anywhere else.
I saw them. We went, too, a few years ago, and I saw those. It's amazing.
Isn't it incredible?
Oh, and I had a train set when I was a little boy.
Well, sure, yeah.
It may have done a figure eight with a little coolant, and it may have had a tunnel on it, but it was nothing compared to what they have. They must have sunk a lifetime and a lot of money into these train sets.
They also had reindeer at the Southern Lights Festival. There's just a ton of stuff to do other than just the Christmas lights. Take some time out so you can spend some time and see everything they've got to do there, because it was a really fun event, and it's it's become kind of a landmark institution for this central Kentucky region. Every Christmas is the Southern Lights at the Horse Park. So if you haven't been, definitely come up to Lexington, check that out. And, we've got a lot of other great Christmas stuff going on. All of our state parks, most of our state parks, have some type of Christmas-themed dinners or tours. A lot of our historic sites like Waveland, places like that, they'll do Christmas-themed stuff too. So it's just a way to see some of these places all dressed up.
Not Winter Wonderland, but Water Wonderland with Scuba Santa. If you like fish, remember this is Kentucky Afield Radio.
This is.
Travel up northern Kentucky through the Newport Aquarium. And they have a special thing going on there November 25th through the end of the year. Join the fun as Scuba Santa fills his air tank with magic bubbles and sends them through the aquarium, creating an enchanted Water Wonderland.
Scuba Santa. There you go.
I think that would be worth seeing.
For the holidays.
I would like to see that.
I would too.
Even if I'm not 5 years old.
No, I want to see that too.
I want to see it. People have so much experience with photography today versus even as recently as 2007 when the smartphone came about, because everybody has a camera in their pocket.
Yeah, right.
They're learning a little bit about good focus and photo composition. Good God, you can't go anywhere without people are taking pictures and videos. Once upon a time when somebody who had sunk a couple of $100 into a camera, whoa, that must be a pretty good photographer. Well, everybody does that now. So if you want to take the better photographs, they're not going to be taken with your phone most likely. But if you have a good digital camera, a single lens reflex with interchangeable lens, and you really want to probe into it a little bit, I would recommend this Pine Mountain State Resort Park. They're having their winter photography weekend.
That sounds like it's going to be a really fun event, and it's something that I am considering. We talked about these ideas of eagle watches or various other things for gifts. This is something I'm considering because I have some people who are really big into photography. Like anything else, it's a skill set, and there's there are so many things to learn and experience that it's something that I can see how people would really get hooked on it. But it's going on the 13th through the 15th of January, Pine Mountain State Resort Park down in beautiful Pineville, Kentucky. There will be obviously classes and education and instruction, but they'll also have some competitive things worked in there, some competitions for the best photographs and things like that.
So is this for beginners only, or can you be accomplished a little bit?
No, you can be accomplished. They have 3 levels of instruction and competition, beginner, intermediate, and professionals. This year's professional leader is a gentleman named Paul Hassel out of East Tennessee. He's been published in National Parks Magazine, Time Life, Nature's Best, National Wildlife, and National Geographic. So he obviously has done very well in this arena, and he will help you out no matter what level photographer you are, I'm sure.
Our Kentucky Afield Radio affiliate in Harrogate, Tennessee, should be pushing people north to come to this because...
I know Harrogate, Tennessee.
Yeah. Lincoln Memorial University is there. Great.
Right on the other side of the Cumberland Gap Tunnel.
It is. It's a great place to go.
Yeah.
Love Harrogate. So I hope people come to this. It's a good thing about Pine Mountain State Resort Park. I don't care what kind of camera you have. You can't take a bad picture at this park. I mean, the place is gorgeous.
It's got so many good things to take pictures of. You know, the scenery, first off, and the topography is just great. But you can go out and you can photograph Chained Rock, and you can see, you know, it's so neat out there where you see the little town of Pineville kind of laid out in front of you, and you're up on the hill. It is a really great park.
What's your favorite food on earth?
Probably nachos or chicken wings. I'm a huge fan of food that you can eat with your hands.
Have you ever eaten bison?
I have. Only once or twice, but I have. Bison burgers, I believe.
I had bison pot roast.
Oh, interesting.
We'll call it buffalo.
Yes.
In Kentucky, the animal is interchangeably used with that name. But they are two different animals. Nonetheless, if you've ever had buffalo, you know it's good.
Yes.
But if you haven't, there are opportunities to try it.
Back to Barren River Lake State Park. Looks like February 4th, starting at 5 p.m., they're having a buffalo night. And the main event, if you will, is the buffet that they're going to have with several different buffalo dishes. But they're also going to, you know, talk about the history when the buffalo roamed all over the state, really, but particularly down in that south central region and stuff like that. So it's cool. It's a fun time to get out and learn a little bit and eat some food that you may not have had before, and some delicious food at that.
I think my favorite food of all is wild game. I like walleye. I like buffalo. And oddly enough, I like alligator.
Oh, interesting.
But buffalo is definitely worth going to. If you're anywhere near Barren River Lake or you want to make the drive over, it's worth going to that buffet. And there may be other opportunities out there to eat buffalo. Buffalo Night at Jenny Wiley is going on January 28th and January 26th through the 29th at Barren River Lake State Resort Park. Seth, you'll have to forgive my manners in the Kentucky Afield Radio break room. Could I offer you a piece of chocolate pie or maybe pecan pie?
Thank you. I think I'm going to pass.
The sugar in these pies is starting to ferment. They're still pretty good.
Yeah, sure, right?
It's pretty good. But we had one of the producers from the TV show bring these in.
Excellent.
From some event, I don't know, a few weeks ago.
Oh, just a couple weeks old.
And and so it's still pretty good.
Pretty good.
And so they're there if you would like. I would hate to be rude and not
say thanks, but no thanks this time. Maybe next time if I'm here, maybe a little sooner.
They will still be here.
They'll still be.
And we'll be back after the break to wrap it up with Seth and take a sneak peek at what's under the tree. You're listening to Kentucky Afield Radio. Let's talk more about wildlife. Here's something that you may know about that I looked into just basically out of curiosity. Kentucky and its connection to the game of Rook.
I love the game of Rook.
Do you play Rook?
I do. I do not know the connection to Kentucky, though.
There is a Rook tournament, Rough River Dam State Resort Park, January 20th through the 22nd. There's more Rook coming up, January 27th and 28th at Pennyrile Forest State Resort Park. They made a note that house rules apply if you go there, so you have to know what the house rules are. But a rook is a bird. It looks a lot like a crow or a raven.
Right.
You'll find them in Ireland, Great Britain. There is a population of these across Central Europe into Scandinavia, and they're not in the United States. Yet the game of Rook is. And while the game of Rook, the card game, which uses different cards than the deck of 52 cards you may have in the drawer.
Correct. It is its own set of cards. Yeah, you can't use it with your general deck of cards. That's correct.
They have a card in there that looks sort of like a joker, but it's a picture of a blue rook.
Mm-hmm.
It's the bird that's on there. So that's the wildlife connection to the game of Rook.
There you go. There are numerous variations on the game. You know, if you understand how to play the game, you can generally cover whatever the nuances are, but there are several different ways to play it.
You look up the official rules for Tournament Rook, and in parentheses, you'll find this invariably, Kentucky Discard. Kentucky Discard is a version of Rook that's played by most Rook tournaments and clubs. I'm not a Rook player. I wonder if that means they say house rules apply.
Yeah.
If they're using a different set of rules than they might if you were just playing at home with your grandfather.
Yeah.
So Rook tournaments going on, Rough River Dam State Resort Park, and again at Pennyrile. Look that up if you like the game and the Kentucky and the wildlife connection. Seth, anything else before we get toward the end of the show here?
I think we've covered most of it. I hope we've certainly given people some ideas of things to do this winter. Don't just hole up inside the house this winter. Get outside and explore. Maybe even go to some places you've been to before. See it in a new way. All kinds of good stuff to do in the winter times.
I will not see you until next year, so you make sure you have a delightful Christmas, a Happy New Year, a good Charlie Gras, and we'll talk come towards spring.
Well, same to you and yours. Thanks, Charlie.
Mr. Adventure himself, Seth Wheat, the Kentucky Office of Adventure Tourism. No plans this winter? Try some of theirs at KentuckyTourism.com/adventure. I want to take the last few minutes of the show to take you back. This goes to around 1998 or thereabouts. It was true then, and it's true now. We go Christmas shopping off the beaten trail, and we start by asking, what gives? Well, nature, naturally. In the dictionary, there's a word, give, and it has 17 definitions. 17. We give, of course, to benefit others without a charge, without fee. We give freely. We give our all, as in strength and in fortitude, that old college try. We give in, as in sacrifice. Obviously, the season of giving gives us a lot to think about. And here's another. This year, give some thought to giving back to nature as you give unto others. After all, nature's been good, and it's given a lot to us. So why not return the favor? In this holiday season alone, nature helps to make the season the season. Nature uses mistletoe, holly, snow, deer, the Christmas tree. And for gift-giving, nature gives us choices as big as the great outdoors. A bird feeder is a pretty good place to start. Fill it with suet, sunflower seeds, and other munchies for backyard birds. There's not a bird out there that doesn't appreciate a handout, especially when it's cold. Wildlife biologists recommend foods that are high in fat to help the little bird's body fend off the winter. Another idea is to walk into the countryside and seek out that perfect cedar or pine tree. Decorate it right where it stands. Not so much with ornaments and lights, but how about with peanut butter? Pack along a jar to smear on fallen pine cones. Then sprinkle the whole thing with birdseed. Place it back on the branches, and for our feathered friends and the occasional squirrel, it will be a holiday feast. There is a variety of gifts that we can give to wildlife itself. Bird houses, bird baths, bird feeders, squirrel feeders, duck boxes, bat boxes, butterfly boxes. And while on the subject of giving critters a place to live, why not give them the whole countryside? If you don't have one, that's okay. You could give one in part by putting a Kentucky Nature's Finest license plate on your car or truck, or offer to provide one for someone else. At your county clerk's office, these are the plates with the cardinal, the bobcat, and the butterfly on them, and on the bottom they say, Nature's Finest. The program has helped to safeguard close to 100,000 wilderness acres in 67 counties across our state. Including nature in the gifts we give can also take the form of a fishing license. Tuck one into the stocking of any person, any age, it doesn't matter. If they're under 16 and don't officially need one, buy them a license anyway. Make them feel important. Then sweeten the deal with an IOU for an outing this spring. The few dollars you spend on a license benefit every wildlife species across the state. From bass to rabbits to black bear to bald eagles, it helps them all. Another gift that's always welcome is your support. If you know someone with a budding interest in the outdoors, give them the tools to get started. That might be archery equipment, hiking boots, a new rod and reel, seeds, books, maps, or any other inventive incentive. Just might give rise to lifelong interests. Lastly, time is a timely gift. Anytime you give it, you can take the time to share with someone you know something you know about the outdoors. Canoeing, camping, hiking, trees, native plants, wildflowers, aquatic life, hunting, fishing, boating, the list goes on. And teaching isn't limited to kids. Anyone can learn. So, giving has many meanings. Involve nature in the mix, and giving has deeper meaning. Traditionally, giving calls for boxes and bows rather than abstract notions like these, and typically we give to benefit people rather than plants and animals. But ultimately, that's what a healthy environment does. It benefits us. There's much we can do to include nature in the gifts we give, and ideas here only scratch the surface. Scratch your head, you'll find some more. This is Charlie Baglan. We are out of time, and next week, our Christmas special. So join us in a week, and we'll go inside, outdoors again, here on Kentucky Afield Radio.